Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. Today, you have myself, Basil, and we're joined with Dan. Dan, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How's your holiday been from Everton over this World Cup? Not spoke to you for a while.
It's been a well-deserved break from Everton. I mean, we were just heading into that period where things were looking a little bit bleak. You know, we'd lost the 2 games to Bournemouth in quite bad circumstances, and I think it came at a good moment to break off because I think we were heading down rather than up at that time.
Yeah,
How are you feeling? Are you enjoying the break?
I think someone's saying, "Hey, we'll drop the comments on." I think, like you, I'm similar to you. I think it couldn't have come at a better time. It looked like we was getting like worse every game, and the Bournemouth situation was a nightmare, losing twice in the cup and in the league. And it looked like we could have gone on a proper downward spiral. So that break to come and the players to have a big think in us to be able to have the chance to recharge our batteries and have a big think come at a perfect time for me. I generally think it was bang on timing.
Yeah. I'll just say hello to Jason and Kevin, as you said. Nice to have you as always, and Eugene. And yeah, please smash the like button.
We've missed you.
And good evening, Thorium. So I think what we'll do, we're obviously going to have a bit of a discussion about things because a lot has happened there. But the most obvious thing on my chest is that Rondon is leaving. Rondon, it is confirmed, will be leaving in January. He's a free agent by mutual exclusivity from the club. So basically, it seems like they've just wrote off the contract, which is probably the best solution here, would you say? And because we've been rinsed a lot of times by players just sitting on the bench or in the reserves who are not offering very much, but at least he's kind of taking it on the chin and he's saying, I'm going to go and get football.
As to be fair, I don't know what the situation is like inside. We don't know what's actually happened, but we know he's like finished his contract. And if you think back to Tujan, we couldn't get rid of him. And a lot of players went to the very end on the contract because the contract was good wages. And for Rondon to say, right, I'm going to terminate my contract, I want to play football, it's good for us and it's good for him. I wish all players would do that. I'm happy that he's going. I've seen a lot of talk now, Basil, that now he's gone, it's making people think that we're going to get a striker even more. They're thinking we've got rid of him to bring a striker in. So it's definitely created expectation that someone's going to come in getting rid of him.
I mean, I don't know if we've actually had confirmation on whether he's left. I mean, from what I hear is he's pretty much out the door, but by kind of
someone says here in the comments, look, immediate effect. Look,
I think he's gone, but I think legally speaking, he's technically on the books till the 1st of January, and then he's a free agent. So he's
John Riley.
Yeah, he's not going to be there. But as you've just pointed out there, we have to bring in a striker, don't we? And maybe this was a way of getting somebody off the wage bill who was not even making the bench in some weeks towards that back end of the first part of the season, and getting in a new striker. I've seen today we've been linked with Kuna. I think he's at Atletico. Don't know if you know much about him.
Yeah, he's. I don't know much about him, but I've seen all the links and the articles and stuff, and he's basically hasn't got in the first team of Atletico Madrid, but he's a good player that a lot are interested in. That's the striker link that we've been linked with. What he's like, Basil. I mean, do you know any more on what he's like?
Not a great deal. I know he's been around a couple of years and he's been an up and coming sort of talent. He's only 23 years old. So he's young. He's about 6'1". So
Brazilian.
You know, he's got decent. Yeah, he's got a decent profile behind him. But yeah.
Every time you see the player Brazilian, you just think of like replace Richarlison, don't you? I don't know if you're the same. You just think, oh, he could be like Richarlison, Brazilian.
I think we've got to look at what's just happened in the World Cup. I mean, some of those teams like Canada and Japan, they had strikers and wingers that were better than the quality we have, and it beggars belief. sometimes, you know.
I completely agree with you. I just seen this one as well. This is another link. Apparently, this is an article. We are front runners for Kudus. A lot of teams are interested, but it's come out in an article that we are at the top of the list. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. With how good he played in the World Cup, I think a lot of teams will be interested, and I can't see it being cheap, Basil. Can you?
No, it's another one I've got wrote down on the agenda to bring up. But I'm sure I've read something that said he's not the front runner. We were the front runners in the summer when he was looking like he was going to sign, but Ajax sold too many players and held on to him. So I think now with his performances, I think there'll be a lot of teams in for him as well. It's the same with.
He's what we need, isn't he? He is what we need. He's very, very good. I know you can't judge someone just on the World Cup, but with the way he was playing in the Champions League for his team, is a not international team, he was playing really well as well, wasn't he? So I'd like him, but I don't want to get my hopes up and be broken-hearted of seeing him go to a different team and not us.
I think there's something about the World Cup because although we've seen some really good performances, we do have to acknowledge it. It probably is a bit slower in pace than the Premier League. The intensity doesn't seem quite as there. So they've still got to adapt to the Premier League.
Well, you can't get too excited by the World Cup. I mean, Valencia, was it our old player? Remember Valencia? He was banging goals in left, right, and centre in the World Cup, and he's how old now? So you can't. I don't know. Like the World Cup, the Premier League's harder, isn't it? You can't just rely on how they play in the World Cup.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, Fabrizio Romano is reporting we're going to be speaking with Kuna about a transfer since Rondon's left. So there's obviously some links there. There's obviously something tangible about it, but it's hard to say what he offers. I mean, do you trust Thelwell and Lampard to get this right? I mean, the signings from the summer were very mixed.
This is what we're gonna go into now, isn't it? Because we're just going to have a little reel off things in your brain, where you're at. And do I trust Lampard? I'm 50-50. The way we started the window, bringing in Cody, Tarkowski, Onana, and Garner Gay, I was like, yes. But the way we finished the window with McNeil and Mope, it wasn't a good finish, was it? And you always remember the way you finished it. But Lampard did say, Basil, Lampard said that his priority this window was to sort the defence out. And then this window now, he'll look on the attack. But if Lampard did say his priority was to sort the defence out, he did do a good job in that, don't you think, Basil, with the players he brought in?
I think so, with Tarkowski and Cody. I mean, they've been excellent for us, haven't they, at the back? The only accusation you can make is that we concede a lot of goals in transition, and they haven't got the pace really to deal with counterattacks. But if we play the right way, then they've been very solid, in their jobs. You've got to play tactically to suit them.
I don't think we can bring him back, although he was very good. Although we're desperate, I think this striker that we bring in, Basil, for me, I've said it all along, he can't be a 50-50 striker. He's got to be a really good striker because we need someone to hit the ground running. We really do, because if we're to do well this second half of the season, the first person that you look at to win your games is your striker. He's going to be the one that's scoring your goals to win your games. And if you think now, Basil, who's going to be our person that's going to score like Jesus has done for Arsenal, like Mitrovic, stupid player, but for Fulham, he's helping them big time. Who's going to be our striker that drags us through this second half of the season? Who is he, Basil? Do you know? I mean, Calvert-Lewin is in training again, but can you rely on him?
I imagine they think it's going to be Calvert-Lewin. I mean, you can't underline the importance of a striker, can you? Without one, it's like a 50% difference, I would say, in the team's performance. You used Fulham as an example. You couldn't see them being where they are now without Mitrovic. I mean, they do play well, but just without that link, without that person to put the ball in the net, you just don't get the points.
Makes a difference. Just seeing this is the comments that I'm reading. Obviously, we'll keep interacting with you because me and Basil are on it. But Diaz. I've just watched a bit of the Blackburn before I come on. People do like him. obviously his fee would have gone up now. And he isn't a fast striker, but he is a goal scorer. There's been no talks of him since that last window, has the Basil? It's kind of gone quiet on Diaz, hasn't it?
No, I just seen it crops up occasionally. We've had a couple of comments, but yeah, I mean, you've just watched him? Was he playing in that game?
Yeah, he's playing. To be fair, someone was playing ahead of him. I didn't know about Diaz that much. I know he's been scoring, but I had a look, and it wasn't. He plays behind the striker. He wasn't playing as a centre forward.
Right.
I don't understand whether he is the answer or not. I watch him and I think he scores goals, but will he do it in the Premier League? I don't know.
It's not really a position we kind of have in the formation we use typically at the moment. Same with sort of Kudos as well. He kind of is more of a centre forward.
But this is
playing a 3-man midfield.
This is what some people think is the answer, Basil. What do you think on this? I'll drop it on the screen.
He looks good, doesn't he?
He scored a good goal the other day. It was
I do think he should have a chance, or more of a chance than he did. I mean, I was surprised in the Australian game he didn't play a bit more than he did. I think he played the second game, but
this is the thing though, Basil. Can we pin like I just said just a minute ago, the striker is massive on us staying up this season because the league's more competitive than it's ever been. Can we pin all of our hopes on Tom Cannon, who is inexperienced in the Premier League? We're not sure whether he'll score goals every game. You can't, can you? I do feel we've got to bring someone else in, a striker, to do it with DCL, and Cannon should be an option to fit in with them. I don't know. That's my thoughts anyway. What's your thoughts on that?
I think we're heavily reliant on Calvert-Lewin, and I think Lampard very often has a reluctance to put these youngsters actually on the pitch, and everyone cries out for them. But he watches them in training day in, day out, and he probably, a bit like when they get thrown on the pitch, or not the youngsters especially, but when anyone gets thrown on the pitch and the fans are saying, "Oh, he's rubbish," he was crap. He's seeing that in training, so he can make that judgment without seeing them in a competitive game, I think. So you have to trust that to an extent. But if we're not getting a striker in it, you do look around you a bit bemused and wonder what's going to happen. It's going to have to be Tom Cannon, isn't it? I do fully think we will get a striker in anyway. But
I'm going to drop it on you. What do you think the funds are this window? Like not what you know, because we don't know, but in your head as a fan, what do you think we're going to do in this window, like spend wise? Like, how many players do you think we're going to bring in, and how much do you think we're going to spend on those players? That's a good question, isn't it?
It is, but it's a very difficult question.
I know.
It's like you need to get your crystal ball out. But I think.
What would you want then? Well, come on, to make what Everton are like, Basil. Now you know what Everton are like. I know you love your tactics. You look at us, and when I've sat with you at the game, you do know your football. So what do you think we need now? Because you look at teams like Nottingham Forest, loads of players. Fulham, like say Mitrovic, they brought in William. They've got a good team now. Even Brentford, they brought in some good players. This league, Basil, if we're going to stay up, like we've got to be better than some good teams. What do we need to stay up?
I mean, you touched on the defense before, and the defense does look more solid, but we still, if you look at the stats, we still look like we should be conceding more than we are, and sometimes that comes back to bite us. And I think those last few games kind of showed that. But going forward, we're not so clever either. We're 18th. I've just looked. We're 18th on expected goals, in the league. So there's obviously an issue with creativity as well. Like the strikers are not getting the chances. I think if you do, I was reading something on Twitter. Somebody said if Hammers is putting a ball into Rondon, and it's six yards out, he probably would have headed it in half the time. So you've got to have the service there as well, and it does lack. I don't think Gordon, Gray, McNeil have been that good this season. I don't know how you feel.
No, I think the same. I think that the players that are backloads, and especially Gordon, and I do think he's good, but I think he needs to improve a lot. And it's just more so like consistency. They're hot and cold, ain't they? They'll play well one game and then be a complete different player the other game, and you can't get consistent performances by players turning up one game and then relying on them to do the same the next game and then going completely quiet, and then you're buggered. And that's what's happened with us a couple of times. So they definitely need to get better. And I do think that we need to bring another winger in to give them competition, because in my head, I want a winger to come in that's good. I'm not like, for example, Saar was mentioned. I don't think we'll get him. I don't know. But I think if we bring a really good winger in that's going to be the first pick, and then Gray and Gordon are in competition with each other to get that second spot, then you'll probably see them both play better, because they both know that they're going to play on the wings and there's no other options. Yeah. Townsend back could be a good one as well. I don't know when he's back.
Yeah, I think we probably do need Townsend. I know he's getting on a bit, but he does have a good cross on him. But then how is he going to be after being out for so long? So we can't put all our eggs in that basket. Should we bring in? There's a couple of comments asking different ideas. I mean,
yeah,
Dave saying would we drop Gray and play Iwobi on the left, even though he's good in the middle? Just think that Gray is a one-trick pony, and Iwobi might offer more in that position.
Well, I think I've had a big think this World Cup. I've watched Onana and I've watched Garnagay, because I think I'm a scout at times, and I watch them in depth, and I think I do want to see what we need to do with them, because I don't know where Onana's supposed to play, and I don't know where Garnagay is supposed to play. I think they've both got to sit, Basil. I think sometimes you see Onana get forward and Garnagay's left exposed by himself, and I think they've both got to sit. Go up bits and bobs, but not get caught out as much as we have, Basil, because I looked at something, I haven't got it on me, but it says Tarkowski he's made the most blocks in the Premier League by double of any player in the Premier League. His stats are miles high on everyone else on having to defend. And I'm thinking to myself, Basil, if he's made that many blocks, and we're supposed to have a good midfield now in front of him, it can't be that good, can it, Basil? Because Onana and Gay should be stopping that. He shouldn't be like that exposed.
No, he's made over 40 blocks, if I'm remembering that stat right. And, that's like 4 blocks a game. So that's a lot of exposure, isn't it, to shots?
You wouldn't have thought that, though, would you, Basil? You wouldn't have thought that he... Like, honestly, when this last window happened and we brought in Garnagay and Onana, and Iwobi's playing well as the defensive midfielder and attacking midfielder, I thought, you know what? We're going to be solid in that middle. We've got loads of energy, and teams ain't going to be able to handle us in centre midfield. Now, we've sorted our centre midfield problem out, but for Tarkowski to make that many blocks, you really do need to ask questions on your centre midfield, and say they're not doing the job.
I mean, do you question when you think back to Gomez and Decore, Gomez and Davies? We have improved the area. I mean, they're still playing better than probably that pairing, but there are problems there. And I think one of them is that Onana's not being used in the way that he is best. I think they're trying to mold him into more of an 8 box-to-box player with more of an attacking presence. And he's been used a lot to be a sort of second striker, so to pin balls back because of his height. So therefore, he's playing a lot higher. But I think, as you said, if he plays double pivot with Gay, I think we'll look so much more solid.
Well, I thought of the option. I don't know if you thought of this, Basil. What about if we play Onana as the number 6 and then play Garnagay as he can get forward bits and bobs? Because do you think Garnagay is a number 6? I don't know. He likes to push up bits and bobs, doesn't he? When I watched him for Ghana, he played higher for his country, not Ghana, his country. When I watched him, he played higher, but
Senegal.
Yeah, Senegal. When I watched him for Senegal, he played up, didn't he? He didn't play as a number 6, did he? So we've wanted this number 6 for a long time, the Lee Carsley or whatever, or the Gareth Barry sitting there. Maybe we should play Onana in that position?
I think for his country, I think they've got another decent holding midfielder, and I think that's one of the reasons he's pushed forward. Whereas, they might not have the quality in attacking midfield, so he's one of their best players. I don't know if he can do that job. I mean, the closest example is Kante at Chelsea when he was told to play in that 8, as you're describing, and he was very much in the same mold as Gay is, and he did a decent job. But I think his natural instinct is interceptions, his pressing, his tackling. He reads the game really well, and that's why he's good in that position. He doesn't have a lot on the ball, despite looking like he was going to be better on the ball the first couple of games, he seems to give it away, if anything, or play dangerous passes, thinking it's Messi in front of him. But I don't know. I think
he scored a couple of goals before he come to us. I think he scored 1 or 2 goals, and I think when he's come to Everton, we've kind of asked him, "What's your position?" And any midfielder will always say, "I can attack as well." It's just in your football nature. Attacking is just the most exciting thing in football, isn't it? So he says, "I can attack and score goals as well." So obviously we've given him that chance to play the Fellaini sort of player where he can like go up and down. But the problem is, he hasn't done it going up, has he? He missed one chance, didn't he? Like a simple chance. I don't know. He's still young as well. He's got a lot to learn.
I feel like there's something wrong in that midfield. And I think I took some screenshots of it in one of the Bournemouth games. It's like the midfielders were getting caught out. So the opposition's attack were about to put a cross in. And you looked at the positions of the Everton players defensively. And basically, it was just Gay back, and the other two were miles up the pitch. And Bournemouth had so many men forward. It's like the gaps were huge, and the team wasn't a unit. So it worries me that I think sometimes you have a feeling like when you play a 2 in midfield that you have to work harder because there's more gaps to cover. And when you play a 3, the players themselves know they can be a bit more lax because there's always a man around them.
I've said this before. They get lazy. And you probably get 2 players but play better than what the actual 3 does. And you often, like you just said to me earlier on, do you think Iwobi should play on the right? I think Iwobi should play in front of the 2 centre midfielders. But often you're seeing Iwobi play in front of the 2 and them not doing their job and having to get back and play with them. And then everybody's kind of in each other's way, not fully playing a good game. So I get what you're saying. You need Iwobi to stay high. He's got to be in that like kind of 4-2-3-1 position, hasn't he? That's the way it's got to be for me.
He's the creator, isn't he? He's got this season. He's the one things are going to go through. So you've got to get him into areas that he can actually hurt the opposition. But let's look at the situation that they've had this break. And they've had a number of weeks. Lampard's had a number of weeks, and he probably needed it to sit down and work out how, as you're trying to do, is kind of like, how was the summer? Was that successful? And how has it embedded his plans? And how do we change it because it's now going downhill? You'd think he's had enough time now to make some changes when we come back. So it would be very interesting to see what adjustments he does make. Because it won't just be off players, it has to be tactical as well.
This is something that I said to you because I spoke to you a little before we did the channel, like in the group and stuff. But the I look on my Twitter feed, big Twitter page I've got, and quite a few people on it, and 50-50. I keep getting some people are saying that some people have completely lost faith on Lampard, and some people are still like get behind Lampard. It's split. It is quite split. Do you think? Like I said to you, I talk about this. Do you think Lampard's good enough? Like, do you think he's the man? And why? What do you like about him, and what are you unsure about him?
I like the fact he's English. I like the fact he's a good communicator, and he's generally honest, and he seems to get the fans, and he seems to get the club. In that sense, it's a bit like with England bringing in a manager who's foreign, and the different things that come. The different things that come with that, it's a different example. But if we replace Southgate with a foreign manager who's a better quality manager, it doesn't mean it will improve because they're not going to be English. And then, it's all the chemistry side of it. So he does offer those sorts of benefits in terms of his ability with the players and the sort of the language and all that stuff and his communication. Tactically, it's a tricky one. I think sometimes it works, and sometimes he looks like he's completely out of his depth, and sometimes it looks like the players aren't doing their job. So I think there's a mixture of things here. I have a really bad feeling in the back of my head that we're going to come back. He's going to go 1-2 games in. We're going to get thrashed by Man City, and then the fans are just going to get so angry that he's going to get sacked. And then we're all going to be like, well, why didn't you sack him after the Bournemouth game and waste
It's kind of like you've got the Benitez situation in your head. Do you know where we sacked Benitez late? I'll quickly tell you where I'm at with him. I think to myself, like, he's young, so he's not going to be the finished product. Lampard's got a lot to learn, but as long as he is willing to learn, then he can learn with us, because our players have got to learn as well. But the big problem is, like, we're in a bad situation where we could be in that, like last season, a relegation battle. Obviously, he's been through it, but I don't know. He's made decisions where he's brought the wrong players on sometimes and players late. But then you sometimes see him, Basil, like earlier on, I've seen him, Lampard and Ashley Cole, one-on-one training with Anthony Gordon. I've seen him pictures of him one-on-one training with him. And I do think to myself, like, first of all, Lampard does give a shit. He's an Evertonian already. And he's even come out and said, like, I've never had these feelings what I had last season before, even when I played for Chelsea in Champions League. He goes, it was like a dream of fantasy, us staying up. So he does love us, doesn't he, Basil? He does love us, and he does want us to stay up. And I think he will put 110% effort into being a good manager. So on that, I do still want to give him a chance and think he could be the right man, because he's going to put a shift in. We could go and get a manager that's not that arse, Basil. And if we go and get someone that's not that arse, and we start doing crap, and you think to yourself, oh, Lampard was actually getting good from these players. We've gone even worse, because things can get worse. We've gone even worse now. And then you end up in a relegation battle, and this time you don't stay up. You'll probably be thinking, oh, I wish I had Lampard, who understood this team and wanted to improve us. So you don't know, do you? You are. That's why I'm 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the camp as a reflection on whether things are going well, and I think there's positivity within the camp from what I'm hearing. The players are obviously a unit together; they're all mates and stuff, and I think there's a good sort of mentality there. I think, but it's not coming across into performances on the pitch, or at least it's like one game out of the 10 we've played this season.
Got a comment there from Dave Weston, saving graces that we've got this season. We still have a lot of games, and see, I'm ready. I just put on my Twitter thing. There's some people are saying, "Oh, I don't want Everton to come back." I want them to come back because I want us to do better, and I'm excited. I could be completely frigging stressed again in a couple of days, Basil. Like when we start playing and we're bad again. But I'm hoping, surely we've got to be better. Surely.
I think the measure of the fact that so many people are feeling like they're almost dreading it, or they're enjoying the break, and I think it might be similar in the summer as well that we just had, compared to a couple of years ago when personally I would feel like I'm missing it and I want the football to come back. It is a measure of how far we've dropped, unfortunately.
I don't know whether you've seen on my Twitter, but I've been literally going, why we've had this break, I've been going through all of our old stuff. So I've been going through, like, when we won the cups, videos and stuff. I've been watching all the Everton documentaries and some of the old school players, Sharpie and all that lot. I've been watching all of that. And then after I watched that, I went to the David Moyes players, thinking of them, and Lescott and all that lot. And the team that we have got now, Basil, honestly, I know we're so bad at the minute, but the team we have got is close to being good. I don't know how you feel, but Tarkowski in defence, Cody as well, Patterson right back, Mikalenko on 50-50. I don't know if he's, but I'm happy with, like, other than the left back 50-50, I'm happy with our defence. Onana, Garnagay, Iwobi, and then, like I say, if we bring in a winger to be competition with Gordon and Gray and bring in a really good striker, am I stupid for thinking that we can actually be a lot better just by those two signings?
Yeah, I think it's a winger and a striker. That would be my gut feeling. I do think the midfield on paper looks good. The defence has proven itself to be fairly solid. There's a few question marks about the fullbacks, but I mean, I think Patterson will be very good. He's just very young. And who do you think's
going to get the go ahead? Because Cody can't play against Wolves, can he? What do you think's going to happen there? Are we going to go with the 3 centre backs, or
compensate for the fact we can't have a decent centre back by playing 2 rather?
That's what I thought. Sometimes we do it, don't we? If we if we're going to put someone at the side of Tarkowski that we don't feel is good enough, then he'll just put 3 there, won't he, and do wing backs. But I hope he doesn't do that, because I enjoy playing 4. I don't think the wing backs work. We've seen that in the World Cup, haven't we, Basil? That these teams that have played with the wing back and the 3 centre backs, the formation doesn't seem to work nowadays. It just ends up pinning you back, and you seem to be doing a lot of defending and giving up possession, in my opinion.
Yeah, the balance never seems to be right. We don't have enough players in the right areas of the pitch to actually pass out of danger. We just have to lump it forward, and then the pressure, it just comes back. I think I'd be looking at Godfrey or Mina to play instead of Cody. Is it a home game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it. Do you know what? I haven't even looked whether it's home or away. I've looked at that we've got it, but I haven't. I've had the proper break, haven't I? There's a comment there. Look, saying, "Did you watch the Florida Cup win?"
He was referring to when you were watching back all our famous wins.
I know. I did watch it. Yeah, I did. I looked at how many trophies. When I watched us, Basil, like I didn't get the trophies like that some other people have got, but like when you watch the Evertonians, like some of the videos I watched was in black and white, and the coach couldn't even travel through the Everton fans. And I looked at our fans and they was going nuts, and it's all in black and white, and it made me proud to be an Evertonian, because our fans was hardcore there, and you look at them against Crystal Palace and they're hardcore now. And the fans have always been, even back in the day, more so freaking proper hardcore, aren't they, these Evertonians? So it's good that we've carried it on a little bit with the flares and stuff last season.
Makes you wonder what would happen if we actually got to the final or won the thing, you know.
Do you know what? You know what I'm like, Basil? I never give up. Like, I generally want, like, some people will say, "Oh, lose again," because Man United we've got in the cup. We did say it on the last channel, didn't we? We've got Man United. Some people will say, "Oh, just lose against them, focus on the league." Surely we've got enough players to kind of have a cup run, Basil, and do well in the league. It's only one cup in the league. You can't just want to go out of the cup.
I think it's purely I don't know. I think the FA Cup, if you go on a good run, I think it can help your performance in the league, even though it takes up extra matches. I think mentally you feel better because you know you've got cup matches to look forward to, and it can be a break from a league games and a different type of pressure and intensity of a one-off game. So I think they are good, but I think Man U was a very unlucky start. Depends what players they put out and because we're not really going to be that fit, are we, by that point? And yeah,
well, I think with the way that we was, and Lampard saying a little bit that we need to focus on the league, not the cup. Last game against who was it? Bournemouth. Yeah, it frustrated me that, because every game's important, and the cup's massive for us, because that you look at a lot of the teams that went out in that cup, Basil. You don't know who you're going to get. You can get a nice little run sometimes. Like you've just said, you could play Man U and they play the reserves, and big teams can go out, and you could end up in the final later on. I know that's something, you would never, but you could end up in the final. And we see Wigan win the cup back in the day. You never know. If you did win that cup and miraculously got like in the Europa League, and we get in a new stadium and we've got Europa League, imagine the players that we could sign just by all that lucky movement. That's why it's important. I'm not saying that could happen, but I'm saying stay in the cup because you want to have a chance of that happening. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what's going to happen in football. Anything that can happen. We've seen in the World Cup, some teams have done well in the World Cup that you wouldn't have expected. So in cup games, anything can happen. So I do think we've got to put more effort into this cup, Basil, because I'd love us to win it. I really would. There's
probably a bit of realism in there from the fans that the FA Cup is generally won by a top 6 team. And as soon as we come up against one, even if we beat one, we'll probably have to play another. And it's just a very tall order to win it. And then imagine the pressure the players would face on the final if they're coming up against even someone like Spurs in the final. I could just see them struggling under the pressure, not even if they had the ability. So I think there's a realism that
I keep thinking that we've got good players. I keep thinking we've got good players, Basil. I keep thinking if we ended up in a final in the cup, I know this is stupid convo, but if we ended up in the final, I think to myself, we've got Cody England international. We've got
Yeah.
Tarkowski, who'd be solid in the cup. Patterson would love being in a cup final. Freaking Onana, he's got a big ego. Garner Gay's got experience, played for PSG and won this, that, and the other. I still got that belief that we've got good players, but we're not playing good.
Who would score the goals? That's the question.
That's what we need to
I
sort
agree
out.
with all that. I agree with the first two lines of the formation. It's the last line looks concerning. Did you hear about the behind closed doors friendly game?
Yeah, but I seen someone ask the Bobble guy who scored the goals. I don't know if you found out who scored the goals, because I don't know. It was 1-1.
No, I heard nothing. But
that it was the first team, because a lot of them will just be chilling after the World Cup, won't they? Or a lot of them was playing for Brazil, wasn't they? So I doubt they'll be straight back in playing in a friendly. So it's probably only against reserves anyway, won't it? But at least some players are keeping fit.
Well, our players returned last Friday, I think. The ones who weren't in the World Cup. So we've got a decent squad. I mean, we've got one of the squads. We've got one of the least. We've got one of the squads with the least amount of players who went to the World Cup. So we should have a fresh team, and that should go some way at some point in the season in terms of keeping the intensity. There's no excuses really.
No, they should be ready, and I think they would have had a long thing, because we often when we watch them, we say they don't give a shit, but they are going to give a shit, because they'll remember last season they nearly went down. So I think Basel this time they're going to realise, they're going to probably look at the other teams in the league and realise this season's the hardest it's ever been, and they need to pull the socks up basically. And I'm hoping that they do come back fighting. If we can come back and we can beat Wolves, it'd make a massive statement. And I feel like we've just got to crack on then game by game, because although we're in a really bad position in the league table, if you win a couple of games, Basel, you can be away from that bottom and you can just get away from it quick, because I don't want to be nowhere near there. I don't want to be in the relegation battle this season. It wasn't nice last season. It was stressful, and I felt like we got a bit of luck as well to not go down. So I don't want to be there again.
The players won't want it. They won't want that stress again. I think it would have been intensely not very nice for them, despite earning the amount of money they do. I'm sure it wasn't a good experience. But you've got to look at how congested the league is as well. And a few points is going to send you shooting up. A couple of wins and it's positivity. A couple of defeats and you're looking behind you a bit on edge.
A lot of some have picked up injuries. I mean, Jesus is out for Arsenal. And I think have we played it? We didn't play Arsenal, did we, in the end?
No, we didn't. It's been rescheduled, I think.
It's been rescheduled, so that could be good that we didn't play that Arsenal game with Jesus, and they're not going to have him this next time. So a couple of teams might be missing players from the World Cup, or players shattered, or injuries, where we're looking like we're going to have a full squad. So that might benefit us.
It looks like James Garner's out for a bit. Seems like Davies is back, even though he missed the tour in the end. He had to return from Australia. I think the World Cup players coming back, I mean, they all got knocked out fairly early. As Belgium went out in the group stage, Senegal, obviously, to England, but Gay didn't play in that game, so he hasn't played for a while. You've got Pickford, who's a goalkeeper, so that shouldn't make a big difference. And you've got Cody, who hasn't played a minute. And we're playing Wolves on Boxing Day, which is probably the best team we could play, because he misses that game and he gets his rest period and then he comes back for the next one, I imagine.
Yeah, I think Wolves I've heard someone say it's a 6 pointer. It's a big game, isn't it? I think Wolves could be someone we're competing with to try and get away from that relegation battle. He said here, look, Dave Weston, I felt like the fans had turned. That's why I said it was really good that the break had come, because they had turned. And to be fair, when I go on my social media, a lot of the fans, Evertonians at the minute, they ain't happy.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity.
There's a lot of negativity at the minute. Like, generally, you put stuff up and it's like we're going down, unless we sign someone, we're down. All the talks that we're down, and people ain't happy. So that's why I'm really hoping that we can play this Wolves game, get a good result, because the thing is, us Evertonians, we we do get down, but it's not easy to get us back up, is it, Basil? Like one good performance, like that Crystal Palace one, we all start jumping up like we're the next best thing, don't we? And then we get hyped, and then we can get behind them. We do it all the time, don't we? Just one good performance can get our hopes back up. But I think the reason a lot are so negative is because the last game that we had was against Bournemouth twice, and we got battered twice, and that's how we've been left feeling. And I think if you just give us that, that's why I said to you, we need to get back, because if you give us this next game and we play this next game and we win, that's what we are. We're that what we was in that game, and then we can be that again and crack on. But at the minute, what Everton is what we was against Bournemouth, and that's why everyone's so negative.
I mean, it's all relative, isn't it, to the perspective you're judging it from. And in this case, we lost those 2 games. If we'd finished on a win, we might have had a more positive feeling right now. But I think the problem is we look at the table and we're in 14th, we're in 17th, so we're hovering just above the relegation zone and 1 point. So it's that we're back to that horrible position of where we were last year. I think people just don't want to do it. Don't blame them.
What was I going to say? We've got 4 minutes, Basil. We said we'll hit this on 45. We don't want to do them too long and people to get uninterested. Me and Basil said before we come on, we'll try and keep them at 45 minutes maximum, 30 minutes if we can. But what I was just going to say before we shoot this off, I forgot to say Gordon. Jeff's there as well. All right, Jeff's been working hard. He was going to come on, by the way. I've seen one of the comments say, "Where's Jeff?" He was going to come on, but he's been grafting on a night shift, I think. So he couldn't come on. So that's where Jeff is. Ryan's busy as always, isn't he? Yeah, he's busy.
He's performing.
So it's me and Baz. Everyone's here. The team's all together. We're just taking it on turns. But I was going to say, Gordon went out and did a big food shop and gave food to the food banks. And I see some people said to me, "Oh, they should just do it undercover." But it's still good because Gordon going doing that and making it public how much of a good thing the food banks do is probably going to make other people probably go to those food banks and give food, which is massive because I don't know whether you've seen, Basil, but there's some people on Twitter, 3 people. They go on Everton Spaces, Dave, Raf and Jack. They're quite big on Twitter. They went out to homeless people on the streets when it's freezing cold and gave them sleeping blankets, hats, gloves, food. And these 3 lads are amazing. They went out and gave them stuff on cold nights, food and everything. So it's important these food banks are there, and it's important that people do stuff like that.
Yeah. I completely agree, and especially with the weather and how it is at the moment, I just couldn't imagine it like being out there, So if we can do anything to help,
we'll probably look to do something as well. It's not a competition; it's just about everyone trying to do something, isn't it? But if we can help, then you can help. But I know it's hard for everyone at the minute with the way that things are. We will set something up, but it's just everyone's struggling as well. And it's hard to donate when a lot of people are struggling themselves, isn't it? But definitely, if you can and you're in a good situation, I'd advise to look them up on Twitter and probably donate something because they do look like they're helping a lot of people. I'm all for that. I know you are as well, Basil. So, like I say, Gordon did that. He went and did stuff for the food banks. McNeil, I don't know whether you've seen him. He went and donated loads of toys with his wife to kids and stuff like that. I think that's good to see Everton players do stuff like that, Basil, because I don't think they're doing it for attention. I think they're generally trying to do a good deed, and some don't do that. And it's good that they did.
No, and it's keeping the reputation of the People's Club, isn't it, that we've had for quite a while. And
100%.
If we can't play good football, we can at least help people and make people feel better, especially at this time of year. So it is good, the actions that those players are doing. I was going to say before we go, do you have any opinion on who you want to win the World Cup? And if anyone in the comments wants to say who they want to win.
I'm a bugger here. I'm a bugger. I don't know what you're like. So I haven't spoke to you about the World Cup yet for a long time. Like I haven't even spoke to you about the World Cup at all. But are you a Messi super lover, hyper? Because I tell you something, I like Messi, but the Messi hype is too big for me. And I'm not on the Messi train. I'm not. Everyone wants Messi to win the World Cup. It says Messi's shirts are sold out in every single size, and everyone wants Messi to win the World Cup. But I do like Messi. I've got nothing against him, but I think France are going to win it. I've watched France, and I don't know how France have done it because they lost loads of players, but they ended up just looking so well balanced and the players just fit into place. And Griezmann, honestly, he's a player that doesn't get mentioned, but he is such a good player. Griezmann is. He's done this new position where he just floats around and he comes back in that frigging number 6 position and stops danger when it is big danger. But then he'll push up and he makes that pass where he gets you on the attack, Basil, and he'll open play up for France. And when they're in trouble, he'll get them out of trouble. He'll receive the ball in real pressured situations and be so good. So a lot of talk for France has been about Griezmann, but I think France have the lad that plays number 6 for Real Madrid. I can't remember his name. The one that scored against England.
Touche.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player. I think you've got Rabiot, you've got Griezmann, Dembele, who's always been injured, has come back, and he's better than what people think. Mbappe's good, so yeah, everyone thinks Argentina's going to win it, but I think France are very good.
I'm not sure they will. I think France, as you say, they're a unit. They're together, and they're winning the games. They're not playing that well, and I think that's a good sign that they can get themselves over the line, even without having the likes of Pogba and Kante and Benzema. They've got so much strength in depth everywhere. They're strong. They're fast. They've got a good manager, and I think Argentina ultimately don't have that sort of level, but they've got a superstar and a couple of very good players alongside him.
They played well, but I look at the defence, Basil. The defence is, I think they've got away with it big time to get this far. The defence is Ramiro, frigging Otamendi. They've got the Manu little lad that's all right. And then that's not a good enough defence for France for me. That's never. They're getting yellow cards. Every time they play, they can't tackle. They're getting yellow cards all the time.
Peter says that Giroud's injured. I've not heard that.
Well, I've seen that Giroud's going to get dropped for another player. It said, which I think is harsh, if he gets dropped.
If he's injured, that does change it a lot, I think. But then they said Benzema's back fit, but there's an argument and he's not going to come and play.
Yeah, I've seen the Benzema thing. I was just going to ask you, is it true? That's crazy if he comes back and plays and wins.
Yeah, well, he is the Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, imagine having him to put in the last game.
It's not a bad players to bring in the final, is it? To come and play against a weak Argentina defence that I feel's weak anyways. Surely they won't. But is he allowed to play, Basil? He is allowed to play.
Well, he's in the squad, yeah. So in theory, he's just injured.
He's going to play, isn't he?
Well, Sean's on the question. So I, from what I'm reading, that he fell out with the manager and all this stuff. So maybe he won't out of stubbornness.
No, we'll see what happens.
Apparently, he's flying out though. He's flying out to watch it. Because
I seen him on the treadmill with his lad. He's on the treadmill with his lad in the gym, running on the treadmill. So
he'll get interesting if they win, you know. So,
but it's going to be a good final, though, isn't it? You've got some good attacking players on Mbappe and Messi. We'll see what happens. I'm not majorly fussed, to be fair. I'm not a fan of either team.
I'd have different team winning it, but we haven't got much choice. It's interesting that France could be only the third team in history to win the World Cup twice in a row. So that's quite a big achievement if they do that. So we'll see. I think there is a Messi narrative there, and he shares a birthday with me, so I do have some. We're exactly 10 years.
Well, Messi, he shares a birthday with you, and Messi, I read just a bit ago, Messi has got Aguero sleeping next to him. Aguero's gone and he's sharing a room with him now. So I don't know what that's going to do, but I found it quite funny that it was just a big article saying Aguero's gone to share a room with Messi now. He's not by himself.
Keep his spirits up.
The stories. It rattles me. It makes me laugh, to be fair, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. Messi will either be picking that trophy up or crying, one or another, won't he?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching it anyway.
Yeah, it will be a good one. Basil, it's been cracking to have a little catch up with you.
please like and subscribe before you leave. If you haven't subscribed already, please like.
We've just had a catch up, and to be fair, we're all just ready, ain't we? Whether you say you want the season to come or not, we can't wait to have an Everton game to talk about and see what happens. I can't wait. Are you excited, Basil?
I'm gonna. The excitement is starting to build now. Once we get a striker through the door on January the 1st, everyone will calm down.
You know for a fact, if we get a striker, we are not getting a striker till the last day of the window. Hopefully, Calvert-Lewin's back just for a bit until we actually do get a striker that's going to freaking give him competition. Hopefully that happens. Right, everybody on the channel, thanks for your comments. We've tried to read out as many as we can. We're going to keep putting content out, and nice reading your comments and stuff. We'll be back with an Everton game very soon. I think that'll
probably have the preview next.
That'll be the next one, won't it? The preview for the game.
I imagine that'll be this week because it's Christmas on Sunday and the game's on Monday, so it'll probably be like Friday.
It's close. It's close. It's not. It's Christmas. It's Everton as well. Do you know what I mean? It's close.
Yeah,
I'm excited now.
For Everton than you are for Christmas, aren't you?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's about this World Cup's made it funny, hasn't it? It feels like it's the start of the season at Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Optimism.
As long as we batter Wolves on that first game, then we can all start jumping around. Fans can get a bit more upbeat, and then Everton can crack on. That's what we need. Can't be arsed with the drama or stress. Anyway, up the fucking Toffees.
Everyone.
Basil, I'll let you end it. Come on, you Blues or Golds.